Yeah, patch 11.11. All right, you guys ready? Azir nerfed his Q or buffed. His Q cross is decreased.
I don't like that change. I'm gonna say that after every single one of these.
Yeah. Elise is getting her spider form on hit damage ratio decreased, which I think is fine.
I don't like that change. Just kidding. Ezreal, health regen growth is increased and armor is increased. So making him just a little bit healthier in lane, really.
Mm-hmm. Graves, base attack damage growth is increased.
Awesome. Hecarim, Q bonus AD ratios increased, E damage ratios increased. They're kind of bringing him back because they shit on him a little bit, so they're bringing him back a little bit, which I think is fine.
And they're bringing him back in ways that are actually good for Hecarim. I think full damage Hecarim is much healthier for the game than full tank Hecarim.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, yeah, and it's because full tank Hecarim can still like 100.
Yeah, exactly.
And like that's always been the issue is that like any of these bruiser characters hit a point where they can build full tank, but still one combo your carry. And it's like, well, I thought they were a bruiser. Why didn't they have to build any damage? At least so far, I'm actually really liking this patch because it's minor changes. Like this is the shit I've wanted to see for so long. Like plus 5% bonus AD. That's a very small tweak that they can bring it up another 5 next month if it's still not quite there. But we'll see if they do any ridiculous changes like, hey, we turn this 120% ratio ability into 190%.
Yeah.
Lee Sin, E cooldown decreased or increased by 1 second.
Best character in the game is receiving a tiny nerf that doesn't mean anything. Unfortunate.
It's ironic.
Meanwhile,
wasn't the buff to this ability just taking 2 seconds off of it though?
I think so, yeah.
So they
the problem is at least for lane Lee Sin, realistically the cooldown for clearing minion waves could be anywhere between the 8 seconds it was and the 30 seconds it takes for waves to spawn, and anything like that is going to allow him to completely ignore a lane and make it super unfun, you know, super uninteractive.
His power comes from when he gets Iron Spike and he can E Iron Spike off wave immediately.
Yeah, and he can disengage from any fight entirely. He's too safe of a laner, unfortunately.
Okay, let's talk about this character.
This character's getting gutted. Leona base damage is decreased 15 across the board.
That's crazy. Why are they nerfing her W damage? Oh my god, fucking nerf her actual W like damage reduction. There's times where like her W feels in par with Alistar ult, which is I know it's obvious. I'm not being like, it's not actually in par with Alistar ult, but for a W compared to an ultimate, it feels very similar, I guess.
It's better because it's on a 10-second cooldown.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, Leona has 3 things going for her. She has a lot of CC, right? She has a lot of damage reduction. And she actually has a surprising amount of damage.
Yeah.
If you incorporate her passive into her trade combo. Which in a duo lane it will.
Even without her passive, she has a lot of base damage. Like I was playing Leona maybe 2 weeks ago, and I walked up to a mid laner who had 2 levels on me. It was an Annie, and she was at 60% health, and I like just ran her down, like finished her off with my combo and ignite. And it's like some supports should be able to do that, but like top 3 tankiest supports in the game who also have reliable engage and 3 hard CCs, and 2 of those hard CCs are on like 6-second cooldowns.
No, I mean she's good. So it's one of those things where I think she has to lose one of those 3, and I don't think you can remove the CC.
Yeah, no,
so you have to remove the tankiness of the damage.
It should be tankiness, though. I mean, like, she shouldn't do as much damage as well, don't get me wrong. But, like, I just hate seeing someone play so well in lane versus Leona. And Leona plays like shit, takes, like, 2 tower shots, and still wins the trade. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on in this clown-ass game?
I won't disagree with that.
Yeah,
I would much rather see, like, I think that the damage, like, her tankiness needs to be brought down a little bit. But, like, I'm fine with the level of damage Leona does, but I want it pushed way more towards her passive.
That'd be fine.
Right? Like even if it's that, you know, like her hard CC applies like 3 stacks of sunlight, and then her auto attacks apply just 1, and like enemies can, stack up to like 5 stacks of sunlight. Like, I think that'd be a better way to do it, where it's like, hey, you actually are like looking for this as a thing, where maybe, you're like, okay, I really need to hit this person because they've got like 3 stacks of sunlight about to expire. As opposed to now it's just like it's happening through all of that, but nobody's actually tracking like, oh, Leona just applied the sunlight passive. Let me hit that person to proc it before she gets another stack.
It's just the extra damage that you don't think about.
Yeah. She just presses R and then you all dive in and it's like, oh, cool. I guess my ability did 60 extra damage for some reason.
I mean, the crazy thing is like her, going back to Aiden's point, her W just gives too much flat resistance or flat damage reduction too early.
Yeah.
8, what is it? 8 at rank 1 is a huge amount of damage to block when champions are only doing 70 damage in auto attack after armor.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Anyway, characters gutted. Unlucky.
Yeah, unlucky. Master Yi, Q damage ratio has been decreased from 100% AD down to 9. The Wuju style, his E base damage has been increased by a flat 10. So, I mean, this is just a little bit more to, hey, auto attack, not just mash Q with Duskblade.
What's crazy is I don't think this character can lose an ARAM. if you have a keyboard and your monitor is turned on, I don't think this character loses with Duskblade, Halo Blades.
I just don't think Duskblade is a very good playstyle for his character, especially with the targetability from Q already. It feels like you're double dipping in this toxic type gameplay. And once again, it is a playstyle that does abuse lower levels of play more than it does for higher levels of play. But you do have to balance around all levels of play at the end of the day.
They just need to remove Duskblade.
I think it feels more similar to the old APE where a kill granted full reset.
Yeah.
Definitely feels more like that than the on-hit E that they want.
Yeah. Cool. Next is Morgana. Her W damage against non-epic monsters is decreased. There's not really much to say here other than I think I sent it to our group chat of the change log of them buffing her from 150% damage to non-epic monsters to 200%, then nerfing it to 85, then now nerfing it to 155. So it's been a plus 5% buff overall, and that doesn't include them trying it to be 300% on the
I was gonna say, I thought you forgot about the 300.
It's once again, Riot's allowed to try shit. I think that's absolutely fine. And I also think they're allowed to get stuff wrong. That's also fine. The main problem I have with the whole Morgana thing is that these people are in charge of balancing the game. And once again, throw shit at the wall on the PvE. Fucking go for it. But the fact that you come up with 300% initially is fucking crazy to me. And not once again, PvE's for testing shit. I understand that. But the fact that we're now nerfing it down to 155% and your initial shot hey, I wonder what would be a good number to try. Let's try
double that.
300 is double what what they end up at it feels like they don't understand how that role works or how this would function, which I think that's the bigger thing. It's these people are in charge of designing and balancing the game, but don't understand the impact of a change in any scope, it seems like.
Or that they didn't even take that in their test environment before PvE and say how quickly can Morgana do a full clear now? Did it go from, and I don't know the actual number, but let's say it went from a minute 40 down to a minute flat. It's okay, do we really want to buff her first clear by 40 seconds? Because that's, I think, a more tangible piece of information that obviously 150% damage to 300%. You're okay, that's crazy. And I think is something that, someone on the balance team kind of should have seen. And I'm with you as well, where you're hey, you can make a change and then dial it back because you're wrong. And I don't really mind that, where you're kind of just stepping out and trying something to put life back in a character. But there is a level where it's that first change needs to be within reason.
Yeah.
And if you don't know that going from 150 to 300 is too much, what's next? Oh, we're gonna try and make Blitzcrank a little better. So we've decided to make his hook throw 3 arms with double the range, and it goes through minions.
Yeah.
You're right, or like the fucking the Nautilus hook like memes that were things like, yeah, we've decided to make every time Ari ults just 8 Nautilus hooks on every side of her. Like,
and
hey,
they're
that's
usually
ridiculous.
really good about like dialing it back before it happens. Like a good example of them recently doing this, Colton, is with the Lux change. They were gonna buff Lux's E damage by 10, the ratio by 10%, and the base damage by like, I don't know what it was.
By like
20,
30, I think.
30 or
it was a lot,
right? Which ended up making it so she could last hit like the back wave of minions. Know how Lux always has those weird like levels where she just can't hit the last hit of minions. It buffed that by so much that it would just like make Lux like a perma clear mid. And it's like people went, hey, can you not do this? You're making Lux a perma clear mid. And they go, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. We understand the breakpoint was too early for this to be good. And they immediately pulled it from PB, right? Or they like nerfed it so like the breakpoint one is as early. But it's just like you have to be in the ballpark, man. That's all that I care about.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that there's that, and there's certain metrics that you need to go by, where I think like for a jungler or someone who they were like pushing to the jungle, like how long it takes you to do a full clear.
Yeah.
And like probably second and third is something you should be looking at if you're on the balance team. You know, if you're a mid laner for like that Lux change, it's okay, at what level with standard items does my E kill all of the backline?
Yeah.
Or does it kill the backline after I auto it once with my passive? Do I have to auto the minion with my passive and then one more time? Like, those are the questions you need to know. And the things that anyone who plays those characters will tell you and should know, where it's like, if I'm level 9 on Zilean and I'm doing okay and I have like standard items for that point in the game, my Q will kill the entire caster wave, but it'll take me 2 Qs to kill the melee minions. And it'll take me 3 in like an auto attack to kill the cannon. And, you know, if you change that and it's like suddenly now at level 5, Zilean can clear the ranged minions with 1 bomb, right? You're like, oh, that's not a huge change. It's like, no, because now my clear pattern, I get to save 90 mana and I have my cooldowns back up in case you gank or I need to go to a scuttle fight. Like, that's massive. And that could have been a change of like plus 15 base damage.
Yeah, and it's not like we're expecting them like to know everything. Like that's why cool builds do pop up, right? Like a Lux main might eventually go, oh yeah, if you take the double AP runes in like the tree or whatever, and then you rush this item first.
Or like you go minion dematerializer and you like pop all 3 on ranged minions as soon as you can.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, you can last the mini wave like 5 minutes earlier into the game. It's like, okay, that's cool. And we're not expecting them to test shit like that. We're just test like basic shit even. Like that's like the main thing, right?
Yeah, if you buff a jungler's clear speed, you should know what you're bringing it to. Like, did you bring it from 2 minutes and 10 seconds down to 2 minutes and 6? Or is it in 1:30 now? And that's holy shit, that's way too fast. They full cleared twice before Scuttle spawned.
Yeah, I agree.
But up next is Nautilus, after we ranted about that. But I think that like that was a pretty big example of them just not really having a grasp. Nautilus, E now deals increased damage against monsters.
I hate this change so much. I think their changes to the jungle are fucking stupid. This is the incorrect way to approach making the jungle more popular. Yeah, I don't think adding champions to the jungle roster is making people want to play the jungle because their character's good there.
Yeah.
I think it literally just makes junglers play different characters. I think that's the only thing it's doing.
Yeah, and that's something we had talked about a little bit in the Discord, where I'm like, I think jungle, more than any role, is you just kind of have to play what's good. Whereas like as a mid laner, I've been playing Zilean and Orianna since, season 2. And those are the mid laners I like to play. And even if assassins are good at the time, or like AD characters or melee, like whatever is good at the time, I'm normally still always playing Orianna or Zilean. But I feel like in the jungle, like there are plenty of patches where I'm just like, there's not a fucking chance in hell you're going to catch me playing like Rengar or a Mumu or something, because they're just not good this patch.
Yeah, how do you pick a Mumu in the current patch and even make the game playable?
No, just play Nautilus, or
play Nautilus, literally.
And I think that there's also part of this is that I think that the balanced philosophy around the jungle is not where I want it to be personally. And again, my opinion doesn't have much weight with Riot Games, but we're on a podcast and that's what I get to do is chill about my opinions. Like, you don't need to make tanks fast clear.
Yeah.
You need to make distinct identities for different junglers. So, like, and I talked about it maybe 2 or 3 episodes ago where it's like, make fast clearing, low HP, low CC junglers possible. So you can power farm if you want, but you also are going to then be vulnerable to invades and you're probably not going to gank that well. And then you can have slow clearing tank junglers like Nautilus who are going to be able to survive the damage the jungle camps are putting out. It's going to take them longer to clear, but they're going to be at like 90% health when they come to gank with their ridiculous CC ability. Like, you can make very different things. And it's like, okay, well, they picked Shyvana, right? Super fast clear. She's going to be low health. I'm going to pick Elise and just counter jungle the shit out of her. Because I know that if she's trying to do her win strat, I can play against it. But really my option now, because she's going to be full HP and she'll just walk up and smite the scuttle for 70% of her health back, is that I need to power farm just as fast. So I go to, YouTube and I search fastest clear patch 11.11. Oh, okay, this character can do it 1 second. This character can do it 1.2 seconds faster. I guess I win now.
Yeah. No, but
yeah,
like,
it's just
the philosophy of like buffing like popular characters. It just doesn't. I don't think it like maybe it will end up working like enough for them, but like the most popular mid laner is still a character like Yasuo, for example. And let's just say you give him damage to jungle minions, right? I don't think Yasuo mains start playing him jungle unless jungle's a better role for him than mid, right? And I don't think that solves your issues, right? Like, unless jungle is a better role for mid than him, like, it doesn't create more people queuing for jungle at all, I don't think.
I mean, I think Morgana is a fantastic example of this. How many Morgana support players prior to her jungle buffs have now moved into the jungle as a result? I think that number is extremely low.
Yeah, versus just any standard jungle say, oh, I guess I'll add Morgana to my pool this week.
And if they are moving to jungle, Nick, it's because she's better in the jungle than support right now, right? Whereas if she's just playable in the jungle and she's better in support, those support Morgana players don't play her jungle. They don't start queuing jungle secondary either. Like,
Yep. So yeah. What's his local equilibrium enforcer? What is Jazzy Juggernaut? Said TLDR'd it pretty nicely for us. The jungle problem is fundamentally a jungle problem, not the champion pool. Yeah. And that's a good way to put it. Anyway, Kiana, W bonus movement speed decreased.
Cool.
I didn't realize she had bonus movement speed.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think there are other things that would maybe be more in line for Kiana, but this is one.
Rumble's passive on hit damage against monsters is decreased. That's a good place to start.
But Rumble's not good in the jungle.
Ryze base health growth increased. Is this 98 to 110?
Yeah, Ryze is an interesting character where he's was picked a lot at MSI, but he's the lowest win rate character in the entire game in solo queue. So I don't know. He's a fucking character that's hard to alter, and I feel bad for Riot. So.
Speaking of, Senna, passive bonus attack range is decreased. Q now scales with lethality. E now scales with AP when camouflaged. And the ultimate damage ratio is increased. So the healing scales with lethality.
For Q, her wait.
It's her what's it called? The passive.
Her healing scales with lethality. Her movement speed from the E scales with AP, and the ultimate AP damage ratio is increased.
Yeah. Like the main thing they caught here though is that they made her range scale less with souls, which I think was the biggest thing. I think they very much undervalued how important range is of a stat. Compare her range that she gets to like Kindred's, which I understand you can't compare characters directly, but Senna, by playing the game, was getting 25 range per 20 stacks, right? Late game you get like a couple stacks a wave. Like in like 5 waves, you're going to get another 25 range, which is crazy. Versus Kindred, who gets 50 range every 4 stacks. And stacks are hard as fuck to get past the first 4. Like
yeah,
at most you're getting 12 on Kindred, so you're getting 3 range increases. Like at
yeah,
most, that's
there's
a good
that,
game.
and the pacing of it goes down, whereas the pacing for Senna increases. And I think that's one of the biggest things is like, as someone who plays a lot of Kindred, like early game, you can rack up stacks if you're doing well. But once you hit the point where it's only spawning on epic monsters, right? It's like, okay, the most you could get is 1 from the epic monster and maybe like 2 from champions every like 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's not going to happen in most cases. Like, I think the best way to do it is honestly like, just give it a hard cap and put different breakpoints of like, okay, at 75 stacks, her cap, like her range cap is maxed. At 100 stacks, like plus 25 base healing. At 125 stacks, plus 10% armor pen. Like there's a lot of other things you can do, but infinitely scaling range is one of those that like, there are other infinite scalings in the game that are annoying and fucked where it's like, there's a point where Nasus will just one hit you with every Q, and that sucks. But like, it really, really sucks when Senna is auto attacking your tower from longer than your tower range.
And don't forget, it's not just range; it's crit up to the cap, and then it's converted to lifesteal.
Yeah, it's a lot. Anyway, Seraphine, everyone's favorite character, W base, self, and ally shields increase. The base self shield and the base ally shield have been increased at higher levels. So the level 1 value is the same. They scale up a little bit better, trying to push her back towards the mid lane where you actually get those levels.
She also got gutted like with Moonstone. Moonstone's a bad item right now for the most part, so it kind of definitely fucked her a little bit. So I think this is fine. Shaco's W damage is increased. His EAP damage ratio is decreased. That's fine. I think Shaco's super not fun to play against.
W damage ratio decreased.
Sorry, yeah, they're nerfing both of his abilities.
Yeah. Good.
Long and short of it, yeah. Good.
Singe, E cooldown now scales down to 8 seconds.
Hell yeah.
Cool.
All right. Teemo, W cooldown increased by a flat 3 seconds.
Hell yeah. Urgot's W modified damage ratio is decreased later, so he's going to get less of an AD percentage, just by 2% in the late ranks of his W purge, which I do think, like, Urgot, when he gets Hydra plus, like, Black Cleaver or any of those fucking, like, weird, like, AD tank bruiser items, he starts to become a fucking nightmare, so I think this is fine.
Yeah, this is fine. I think the biggest issue, honestly, is the damage from his passive, because that's where his real damage is coming from. Like, the shotgun legs is where the real damage is at.
Yeah.
This, I don't think, makes a huge difference
No.
to his, like, 100 to 0 combo, but, like, for a long fight in the top lane, where you're, just sitting, with your W on and hitting him a million times without getting your shotgun legs off, this will help.
Yeah.
Cool. Aiden, you want to take us into your favorite section?
Yeah.
Tank items fucking blow?
Tank items blow. So they're changing a bunch of tank items. The main, I guess, overall thing going into tank item discussion is that tank items are very cost inefficient items because they have very strong passives on them compared to, say, 80 carry items, which are very cost efficient because they usually are just more raw stats than actual actives. But we'll continue. Bramble Vest is getting a 5 armor nerf, and the reflected damage no longer scales with bonus armor. I think this is fine. Bramble Vest is probably the best tank item in the entire game. It's 800 gold for fucking super good Grievous Wounds.
It's either Bramble or Tabby, right? Or Steel Guards, whatever.
Steel Guards, yeah.
Steel Cups, yeah.
Warmogs is getting a pretty cool buff, so its health requirement where you get the crazy out-of-combat health regen is getting changed from 3,000 maximum health to 1,100 bonus health, which Warmogs itself gives 800 bonus health, so you're only looking for another 300 bonus health to proc Warmogs, so you can easily
plus
build
one
it.
item. Yeah,
plus 1 item. You can even, honestly, I know Swift in our Discord was theory crafting that you could build it first item on, like, Wukong, because his health growth per
so health
level.
growth doesn't contribute to it. That counts as base health.
Okay,
No,
so
but like a Doran, like if you went Doran Shield, like Ruby Crystal Warmogs, you'd hit.
Yeah, I just saw some discussion. I thought it was because health growth does.
It turns out that that in that particular game it was Grasp plus Overgrowth.
Oh, okay, that's cool. But yeah, it's crazy that you could, in theory, proc it off like just building
one item.
But yeah, I think Warmugs could be a good second item. That being said, remember, guys, armor and magic resist will make your overall health more efficient because your per point health is worth more when you have armor and magic resist. That being said, when you're already 250 armor, building a fourth, fifth armor item is way less efficient because you're getting a way lower percentage of that in actual armor stats. So at that point, you might want to look to build a Warmogs instead of having 300 armor opposed to 250 armor.
Yeah, so like that calculation on tank stats is important and something we've talked about before. But I think one thing that I really, really like about this is that I personally want Warmogs to be in a spot where you can get it first, second item.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's the tank's solution to split pushers. Where if I'm playing Shen or Sion or like insert generic tank Maokai, and I'm against, let's say, a Fiora, right? We're gonna duel and beat each other's faces, and hooray, we both escape at 40% health, and I run away. And she's gonna auto attack the minion wave 4 times and be full health, and I'm gonna be sad. But like with this as an option, is like I know I'm just gonna be sitting there repeating this pattern, and so while I hide under my tower, I can regen with Warmogs, and I can at the very least push waves back. And have a solution. And that's, I think, to me, like what Warmogs is for the people who don't get to build the stupid lifesteal or don't have that sustain in their kit, where it's like, okay, we both clear a wave, I hide in a bush and get my health back, you lifesteal the wave.
Exactly.
Yep.
I think Warmogs is,
and this lets you do that so much sooner.
Yeah, it's very much missed in the game because I think we have had a lot of discussions about why Warmogs is just not a good item. But I think this, honestly, I might start building it on Tahm Kench. I think it might be worth it now. So we'll have to see.
I think on Tahm Kench it'll be good. I think on Sion it'll be nutty because you could literally like start Ruby Crystal, get this first item, and because of your W, you'll get it. You could potentially.
I don't even think you have to start Ruby Crystal. I think you can just go Doran's.
Yeah, I mean you could, but I'm saying like you could potentially have Warmogs at like level 10 and just be like, what are you gonna do? Like, if you don't kill me, I just come right on back.
Yeah.
And like I have my ultimate to escape ganks as well.
Yeah.
So I look forward to that. Anyway, Warden's Mail.
Yep. So Warden's Mail and Randuin's are both getting flat damage reduction rather than just the maximum health. I think this is actually going to be pretty good early game. What's it called? Flat damage reduction is very undervalued, and there's certain characters who get fucked by flat damage reduction. Ashe being one of them. Where I watched a video of an Ashe hitting someone who had like a ton of armor and a ton of damage, flat damage reduction. Maybe it was Oleana that she was hitting, and she was just hitting zeros on her with her Q, which I've never seen before. It's funny as fuck. And Frozen Heart's also getting that, so that's nice. I think that will actually be a pretty decent buff to those items for the most part.
And I like that is an option. Like back to Adaptive Helm when that was a thing. Like, right. Items like these where you really have that choice to base your tankiness around the damage type the enemy has. Yeah. Like, I love that for tank itemization where it's like, okay, cool. Like, Warden's Mail might be at a fucked point where everyone gets it every game, and we don't want that. But, like, I do want it to be at a point where it's like, hey, they have an Ashe. Like, this item is going to fuck that character. Like, they have a Talia or a Corki, so I can go Adaptive Helm. Versus, like, oh man, I really want to build Warden's Mail this game, but they have a Lethality Varus, and it's going to take like 8 damage off of his 500 damage Q, and that's going to do nothing. Like, I love that idea for tank itemization, and I just hope they lean into it a lot more and give people those options where, again, it's not so much stat check, but like, hey, I'm building against the AD carry this game, or I'm building against the mid laner or the jungler. Like, you have those choices.
Yeah. Cool. Do you guys want to go through West items? Yeah.
Yeah, Moonstone Renewer, 4 per stack up to 20 is now 6 per stack up to 30%. So pretty significant increase going from 20 to 30 at max stacks.
Yeah. Similarly for Black Cleaver, up to 30% armor pen, which seems like a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Pretty big.
Yeah, so plus 1% shred per stack 24 up to a cap of 30 now.
Yep. Divine Sunderer. More max health damage on the Spellblade hit. Melees heal for 15% more, up to which is 65% of the damage, and then ranged for 40% of the damage. I think this item is kind of underrated, but
yeah,
we'll
I could see this becoming. I'm just trying to think now, like, do we see the rise of Divine Sunderer, Grasp of the Undying, Ezreal?
Yeah, I mean, probably.
It'll
I think
probably
he's
be a thing.
probably the best user of this because I guess Essence Reaver is a really good item for him, but
yeah,
that's okay.
Essence Reaver isn't Essence Reaver.
Yeah, it's a non-mythic, but like
it's a non-mythic, but it takes up the Spellblade.
The theorized best mythic for Ezreal before this patch, you guys might not know, is Leandre's.
That makes sense.
Mainly because the mythic passive on it is cooldown reduction. Which
interesting.
Which is guess what? Ezreal's
ability haste.
You're such a pussy.
Get fucked.
Is Ezreal's fucking best stat in my opinion. So a lot of people have like, you go still your like Essence Reaver, what's the other item that he builds? Muramana. And then you'd go Leandre's as your third item. Just because it gives you pretty decent stats. AP's not bad on him. Not attack damage. Mana's not. It's mana, right? I think it's on Leandre's. Or am I smoking weed?
Yeah, it builds from Lost Chapter.
Yeah, and then you get cooldown reduction as your mythic passive, which is just better than any other mythic passive you could ask for Ezreal, I think. So
yeah.
So I would try that build, by the way, unless Divine Sunder ends up being his best build, and then build Divine Sunder instead. But
yeah,
cool.
Up next, Frostfire Gauntlet. The slow for ranged users has been halved, and the cooldown, they added 2 seconds. It went from 4 to 6. These changes persist to the upgraded Ornn version. Hey, Frostfire Gauntlet isn't for ranged characters. What if we just made it not work for ranged characters?
Yeah, I mean, so like Senna's the only character in the entire game range that abuses it, but once again, I mean,
currently Ezreal abused it for years.
Yeah, all I'm saying is
that was different.
I don't think they should be nerfing an item because one character uses it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think so either. But...
It'd be like, you know when they buffed Titanic and it made Urgot OP? Or they buffed Urgot and either way, like nerfing Titanic is not the right decision to deal with that. You know what I mean?
Guess what they did?
Yeah, I know. It's just like, it just doesn't make sense. It's like, you shouldn't nerf an item that is going to affect 30 other characters, but
yeah,
whatever.
Yep. Awesome. Staff of Flowing Water grants a little bit more AP. We'll just run through these real quick. Serpent's Fang, a little bit more shield reduction for ranged users. The Wardstone line has changed. The Stirring Wardstone is gone, and they've updated the Watchful and Vigilant Wardstone.
Yeah, it's a good change overall, because no one would ever get to Vigilant ever, so this is good.
Holy shit. Vigilant Wardstone now increases ability power, ability haste, bonus attack damage, and bonus health by 12%. Yeah,
it kind of allows you to actually scale into the game properly, which I think is
it gives you some items as a support. Pog. Rune's Hail of Blades cooldown is increased by 50% from 8 to 12 seconds.
Yep.
That's pretty good. I think that rune became a little bit strong.
Yeah, it should be a one-time thing, not like 3 or 4 times per fight.
Yeah.
And then for biscuits, the sellback cost is now 5 gold rather than 30. Why it even has a sellback feature, who knows?
Yep, it shouldn't have one.
Yeah.
There's been some in-game shop updates, some Nexus Blitz balance changes. Oh, Nexus Blitz is returning for the project event.
Yeah.
From May 27th to June 28th. A lot of bug fixes and then some skins. These are some pretty fucking sick skins. We've got Project Sejuani, Project Mordekaiser, Project Renekton, Project Senna, Project Silas Prestige, and Project Varus.
Yeah, they're really, really cool.
That Project Mordekaiser is one of the coolest skins, I think, in the game.
Yeah, if you like watch all of its effects and stuff, I think it honestly is. I'm not sure. Is it a legendary? Do you guys know?
It is a legendary.
Okay, I was gonna say it feels like fucking legendary, like plus quality. It feels like one of the best legendaries they've created.
He looks so badass, and like that's the fucking shit you want to see when like you think of Mordekaiser.
Yeah,
is like look at this fucking tyrant.
Colton, if you haven't seen it, the ult animation is one of the fucking coolest effects they've ever done for a spell in the game.
Everything's fucking grayscale. It's so fucking cool.
And isn't it like a cityscape in the background?
It's a cityscape
like instead of the stupid mist, it's like a fucking like
so cool
Neo Tokyo cityscape. It's so sick. But yeah, that's the patch notes.